couple weeks ago, Facebook bought the Oculus Rift for $2 billion. Now, the Oculus Rift is a virtual reality gaming system.
And what's interesting about this is Facebook is more solely known for their social media platforms rather than for making video games.
Now, I don't know about you, but my first experience with virtual reality was with the Virtual Boy and Sears. I remember I was too small to reach the display, so my parents had to lift me. I saw inside that like black and red display, and I was like, this is so cool!
My first virtual reality experience was at a museum as a child. I remember that they were doing some presentation. They called all these volunteers out of the crowd. I didn't get picked, but you got to see on the screen what this person was seeing in their little helmet as they stood on their treadmills. And I just remember it was really blocky. They were in some city, and I was just jealous and jaded as a child.
I could have been that kid.
I could have been in that helmet, seeing the world for the first time.
So we thought with the Oculus Rift and our experience with virtual reality, we would talk about virtual reality today.
We can trace the history of VR all the way back to the 1860s with the use of 360-degree panoramic murals, one of the first instances where you could walk through an imaginary world. Fast forward to the 1930s, and we have one of the first fictional introductions to VR as we know it today. Pygmalion Spectacle was a book which featured a goggle-based virtual system which recorded holographic images of fictional experiences. In 1962, we see one of the first primitive virtual reality experiences, the Sensorama, a giant booth in which users could see, feel, and taste what they were watching. Or at least that's what they said it could do. In 1968, you have the head-mounted display, or the HMD, a system that was so heavy they had to suspend it from the ceiling, and it only displayed wireframe models. A huge breakthrough came for VR in 1977 when a team at MIT created the Aspen Movie Map, a digital recreation of Aspen in both summer and winter. The way they went about this was by taking pictures of every possible movement and direction in Aspen and stringing them together, kind of like a primitive form of Google Street View. By the mid-90s, virtual reality hit the consumer market with the Virtual Boy and virtual eyeglasses. These systems had major shortcomings, however. The Virtual Boy only displayed in black and red, and the virtual eyeglasses had a very bad resolution. With the failure of these consumer devices, the virtual reality market crashed. Until now. With the Oculus Rift 6th Sense STEM system, Virtuix Omni, and the Project Morpheus, we're going to start hearing a lot about virtual reality.
Virtual reality at its core is just a computer-simulated environment that allows you to recreate a physical presence in a digital world. Now, as Josiah and I started researching virtual reality, we realized the biggest thing holding it back was this sense of immersion because of technology. So we're going to use a couple songs from GarageBand to show you how that immersion has changed over time thanks to technology. Now I should take a moment to say that Josiah and I are not musicians at all, so this song is not great, it's just for demo purposes. Alright, so let's take a look at this first track that we have. It's just kind of a simple, basic beat. There's not really much going on there, and it's kind of like the first VR units that Josiah talked about, those HMDs. They're really big, they're really bulky, they just show wireframe. It's hard to get immersed. Like this track, you can't really get immersed into it. There's not really anything going on. But things start to change when you add a little bit. As you can see, when you do add some orchestral strings like we have in this song, it starts to take a better shape. Now, there's not really anything song-wise there, but it's starting to sound like something. Kind of like the VR units that Josiah talked about in the 70s and 60s. Still not quite there yet immersively, but you can tell that, oh, VR could be something really cool as it develops. So let's take a look at what happens when we add a little guitar to the mix. It's starting to sound like a song, but it's not quite there yet. It's like a lot of those early VR units, like the Virtual Boy. The primitive graphics kind of hold it back a little bit, but the fact that you can move around really adds a lot to the sense of immersion. We're almost getting there. Now let's add some bass to this song. What you're going to hear is a lot more depth, kind of a rounded out sound. And that's very similar to what units like the Oculus Rift are doing for us right now. By completely covering your field of view with a screen and using diagonal pixels instead of square pixels to simulate real life, it's starting to look a lot more like reality. You're starting to get a lot more immersed. So like this song, there's something there. You can lose yourself into it if we were better musicians. But you know, it's there, it's a full song. Now that's gonna change a little bit as technology gets better. So we can do that with our song too. As you're going to hear, we've added some stuff that rounds it out, that gives it more personality. And that's exactly what's going to happen with VR as we continue to get better technology. Headsets are going to get smaller, graphics are going to get better, and we're going to lose ourselves completely in these worlds. So who really knows what the future holds?
In the very near future, virtual reality could be a common feature in your house, with Sony recently announcing the Project Morpheus for the PS4 and Facebook's purchase of the Oculus Rift. Headsets that used to be pretty expensive, around $350, could be brought down to a price of about $100 each. Already the concept of fully immersive 360-degree movies has been created. Zero Point, a documentary about the Oculus Rift, will be debuting for the headset later this year. These are not just 3D movies, but are fully immersive, allowing you to freely look at whatever is around you, placing you fully inside the movie. This creates a cinematic experience that is completely unique and never has been achieved before. When it comes to immersion, there's a few pieces that are still missing when you're just tracking head movements. USC has started Project Holodeck, which uses 2 handheld motion controllers along with the Oculus Rift in order to allow players to see and use their hands in a digital world, creating a deeper, more immersive virtual experience. Very soon, real-life experiences might not just be simulated virtually, but actually experienced as such, more like a immersive television. Mark Zuckerberg's statement regarding the Oculus Rift described it as a new form of communication. Imagine sitting in a classroom without leaving your living room, or going for a run on the Swiss countryside without ever getting off your treadmill, or watching a basketball game courtside without ever leaving your living room couch. The only thing missing is the smell of spilt beer. But if you want to get crazy, imagine this: a trip to the zoo, but instead of looking at the animals, you actually are the animals. Alright, I hope you learned a little bit more about virtual reality.
And I hope you enjoy the new format of Most Important Thing. Let us know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to see more videos like this. And don't forget to visit the website, www.powerranks.com, to see articles about stuff like this and sports and entertainment.
That's been this week's Most Important Thing.